Um, Welcome. I am really excited for tonight just to talk about letting go of comparison and living in the lion mentality. And while I said comparison, we can also compare ourselves to our past selves. And so something that I wanted to talk about is not just like letting go of the comparison of like, the comparison is the thief of joy. Well, that's true. Comparison can also be used for good in a sense as like inspiration and accountability and collaboration. But there also can be some like toxic ways as well. And that doesn't have to do or always necessarily mean it's you're comparing with someone else. You could also be comparing yourself to your past. Maybe you don't feel like you're worthy of something or something like that because you're comparing your now self that you've been working on to a different person that you maybe once were. And so kind of working through that and then leading into once you have kind of done that, leading with the lion mentality. And where I got the lion mentality was actually through guide culture. And they talk a lot about that in the coaching program is lions are the leaders, but they're also humble. They are teamwork. They fight together. And I'm going to go through a little bit more of that. So I'm sorry I don't have PowerPoint slides. I wanted to kind of have like main points on for you visualers to see, because I know that sometimes that can be helpful. At least it can be helpful for me too. But like I said, Lily decided to take a dump in her fun bath, and so that ruined my time of PowerPoint work. So mom life, going with it. And I also wanted to say something. As we're talking about comparison, sometimes I can feel like maybe I'm not worthy of a team call because I don't have a PowerPoint. And I think that that's something that we need to not worry about is we're on this to collaborate together. It doesn't have to have a PowerPoint every single time. If you don't have a PowerPoint, that's okay. No one's going to be like, mad at you or anything like that. So I think it's just a good reminder also, wow, that's great to have, especially for like the visual learners. And I can't wait for the season where I can sit down and feel like I have the 30 to 40 minutes uninterrupted to do that. But I'm just not in that season. And I've heard other coaches say that as well. Like, I just don't have a PowerPoint. That's just not my thing. So that's just something that I've had to work through personally. And just wanted to throw that out there because we're talking about comparison. And, there's definitely still times where maybe I don't compare myself to an extent, but there's still things that I'm like, oh man, should I be doing this? Am I not sufficient? But that's not the case. What matters is the value. What matters is your heart. What matters is how we collaborate together and how we work together. Okay, so I found this article about if comparison is actually the thief of joy. And people always talk about, stay in your own lane, things like that, right? So this article actually found that 10% of daily thoughts involved making a comparison of some kind. So whether that's on, like I said, yourself and your past self, or something that you're looking at and you're comparing to, 10% of our daily thoughts actually come from that. So the famous quote from Teddy Roosevelt is that comparison is the thief of joy, suggesting that making comparisons can be harmful and detract from our happiness. But actually, new research suggests that the ways that we can make comparisons may give us a biased account of our own skills and experiences. So we can actually use it in a positive way to say, hey, I actually have a strength in this. And this is something that maybe someone else doesn't have a strength in, but I can go and do this way of whatever works, right? So instead of, I think sometimes comparison just automatically has a negative derogatory tone to it, right? Like you just think of comparison, you just automatically assume negative, and that's not a bad thing. That's just kind of how our brain has been wired. And like there's a whole podcast on like rewiring your brain and stuff, which is a whole nother topic. But we can compare ourselves to like the fittest person we know or the best cook or whatever, but this actually means that we're falling short of others when we're evaluating our own things to them. However, whoever we're comparing ourselves to, maybe it's something that you actually care about, but it's something that we can have control over. So just being aware of like what you're comparing to, why you are comparing yourself to that, and what the signification, if that's, I think that's a word, what that signifies to you is maybe that is important, and maybe you want to get better in that, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that the comparison has to be bad or negative. I think we do a really good job as a community with using our different strengths and not comparing. Like, wouldn't you say, I would say we do a really good job about not comparing ourselves to one another, and just knowing that like what we're doing is helping each other succeed and collaborate, and talking about kind of what we're going through and what's working, what's not working. But I wanted to just give you guys some like suggestions on kind of having like this security system for yourself. Like, we have a security system for our home. So what kind of security system can we have for like our comparison? So number one, maybe recognizing that you're likely using an unrealistic target when evaluating yourself, and just adjust accordingly. What can you adjust to that's going to make it more realistic for yourself? And if you've never read the book Cultivate, that's a great book. What that talks about cultivating the season, and how farmers have 4 seasons, and no farmer could have 2 springs back to back, because harvesting that intensely back to back just isn't doable. So maybe thinking about like what you can adjust for yourself, and that's going to look different in any situation. Number 2, consider what you're trying to achieve when making a comparison. So again, what's that value that you want to achieve? Is the comparison actually something that's going to benefit you, or is it something that you don't actually need? Like, if you're trying to become a better cook, comparing yourself to your most cooking show ready friend is only useful if you focus on the ways that you could become more like them. Not, oh my gosh, they're so much better at me than cooking, I'm gonna suck forever. Honestly, cooking is a really great example, because Andrew's a really good cook, and I see so many other people, and I'm like over here like, I need more cooking classes. And that's the thing, is like, if you want to be a better cook, you could take more cooking classes. You could go on YouTube and trial and error. So it's just things to think about, instead of getting stuck on that comparison component of, I don't know if I can ever be like that. Instead, what can you do to help yourself achieve that goal, if that's something that you really want? And then number 3, if comparisons have you feeling down, spend some time thinking about the positives. So how much a skill has improved over time? How much worse a situation could be than it is in reality, right? So many times we are looking at it in a different way. And so thinking about, maybe you've actually improved over a skill, and maybe asking someone, because sometimes we don't always see how the skill has evolved or how we've evolved, because kind of like how you look at yourself in the mirror, sometimes, like, that's why progress pictures are great, because you see yourself every day in the mirror, but when you take the progress pictures, you're more likely to see those changes, because it's a different, right? It's like different time. And so we are constantly working on ourselves, and even I get caught up in this, and sometimes I'm like, have I even evolved in this that I've been working on? And then someone will say like, oh, you totally don't say anymore, or you don't, like, that was a huge goal of mine this last year, was to stop saying because I said all the time. And I actually remember going to dinner with Katie before everything got shut down. And she'd even said, she was like, you say way less. I know that's been a goal of yours, but I've noticed. And when she said that, it was like, oh, I'm so glad you noticed. It's something that I've personally been working on, but I didn't know if that was something that, everyone else really took into consideration. So just little things like that don't have to even be huge. But definitely, if you say a lot, or like, or but, those are things that, if you want to get better at speaking, which was a goal of mine, to be more efficient with my speaking, those were just goals of mine to kind of eliminate those things. So I wanted to just share that, because comparison can go both ways. And again, I want us to switch the comparison from a negative thing to a positive thing, because it can really be used as a positive, especially with going into a new year. We all have really big goals. We're all creating and cultivating our own teams and our team cultures. It's so important to really remember that we're all in this together, and our comparison is positive to help us excel in the ways that we can, in our strengths and all that. So now I'm going to go into the lion mentality, and this really excites me. I just feel like it totally makes sense for leadership. And again, I'm rereading The Power of Positive Leadership, who also is the creator of the Energy Bus book. And he was talking about the positive or the negative dog and whether you feed that positive or negative dog and how it can go both ways again, right? So there's could be positive and negative comparison is the same thing for anything. It can go both ways. So kind of choosing which way you want it to go. And so the lion is actually more than just an animal. It's become a symbol of strength, dominance, and regality. So they're really like the majestic animal of the kingdom, right? That's why they make a great analyze. They make a great point in here, but that's why in like Simba and in all those things, like they are the leaders, right? The hyenas want to dominate them, but they can't because they're so powerful. And it's like one lion will be there, and then like the whole gang comes. You know what I mean? Like you see it in those Discovery shows. It's like one lion's being attacked, and then like the whole pack comes in to like defend them, and then everyone backs away because that whole pack comes in, right? Yeah, except for Scar. Okay, so as coaches, we are here to demonstrate your strengths. So technically, lions are cats, and they're not really known as being brave, right? Cats are not really like the brave animal. But despite being cats, they don't have or fear many things. They're not scaredy cats like normal cats. And so they know their strength. And as coaches, we know our strength, or you should know your strength. And that's something that's going to be really valuable for you, because as a coach, what is that strength that you have when someone gets started with you? So what's that one thing that sets you apart that's going to be that strength where like someone's like, oh, like this sets her apart from maybe they're following another coach or something, but like what is going to be that one thing that you can really hone in on that you love? Maybe that's really like making a nutrition video and sending it out in the email. Maybe that's having a one-on-one with all your new challengers. Maybe that's whatever you do, right? So just having that strength for yourself. So what if a lion thought it was weaker than an antelope or a wildebeest or zebras? It would starve, right? Instead, lions are so focused on their strength that they will even attempt to take down elephants. So again, they are not afraid to say, hey, let me eat you. I'm gonna come get you. No, but they're always there. So zebras don't whisper into young lions' cubs' ears telling them that they're strong, right? Like no one's gonna come up to you, and no one might not be coming up to you either in your personal journey saying you're so strong, you're so motivating, at first, right? They just know. Why? Because they learn. Lions learn of their strength by seeing their parents' strength. So that's why you have a coach, and hopefully you're obviously on here with an active coach, but I'm just saying, like, that's why it is so valuable to be that active coach, because the little cubs, right? Like your team is like your little cubs, and they're latching on to that leadership belief. They're latching on to you saying, I know my strength. I'm going to help you find your strength as you grow up, and then you're going to be able to lead your pack with that strength. Do you see how this like kind of leads into coaching and how it really works with our business? So really knowing that like our goal is to really help people borrow our belief until they have belief in themselves. Would you agree? Like, would you say that that's something that has helped you even beyond your coaching journey, just in general, like borrowing someone's belief? I know for me, that's something I look for in anything that I'm doing. So really, he talks about, again, this. So the world is a harsh place, right? It's not going to budge unless you make it budge. And that's what lions do. They make things budge, right? They come up behind you and you're like, oh my God. And again, that's not to say like we're here. I don't want us to be like cold messaging lions. I want us to be the pack of, hey, we're here. We're a pack. We're ready for you whenever you're ready. Let us know, and we'll be here to guide you, right? And we'll be here to show you and lead you the way. And actually leading into like the cold message thing, I read one of Macy's posts recently and I really actually liked what she said in one of them. She said, instead of the whole like, hey girl message, blah, 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 saying like, hey, have you ever heard of Beachbody on demand before? Or just, hey, have you ever heard of Beachbody before? Instead of like just the whole message, and then they can say yes or no. And if they're following you, most of the time they're probably going to say yes, and I've been wanting to reach out, or no, I've only kind of heard of it from a friend. Can you tell me more? Or yeah, I had a horrible experience, and then you can dive deeper and ask them what their experience was. So there's so many different ways that that could go, and I really like that because it's true. Like why? Like no one's afraid to talk about Peloton, and I'm sorry, but like you know, and so it makes no sense to me. Like why are you afraid of saying it, right? So kind of thinking about that, and I'm over it. Like not so many. Okay, scratch that. Two people have reached out to me this last week, which feels like a lot for the last like few months that I've had, and so like that doesn't honestly happen as much as I would like, and that's just me not using my guide culture skills, and so I feel like after I did share that the other day, though, I had people reaching out about my story and how it's my 8-year wellness anniversary and things like that. And so knowing that you can show them and you can guide them will help them actually trust you more and go from there. So number one, there's a few other points that I wanted to share about being a lion. Developing a skill, like I said, kind of figuring out what your skill is, what it is about helping people that excites you. Like that's the fun part for you. Of course, there's going to be things in this business that you don't enjoy doing. Let's be honest, who really likes tracking? But it's important, right? You have to do it. Any business that you have to track. I'm sure, my dad tracks in his business and he's an architect. Like it doesn't matter what business. I'm sure Ashley tracks things for her wedding venue, and I'm sure Talia, you too, with like the whole training and such. Like it's just, you have to do those things, right? That's what is being a business owner. But helping your customers and coaches succeed is the fun part. And so really thinking about what that is that like a PDF you want to make that's just simple? We have, again, we have so many resources. You can even use Canva links. Oh, Molly, do you want to say something? Or no? Okay, that's cool. I was like, oh, she raised her hand. I've never had someone raise a hand. And again, and I totally want to open it up for anyone after. I do have to be off by 5:30, but I totally want to open it up after to talk if anyone wants to share anything or anything I said resonated with them. So like this person was talking about how the roar of strength began with the riding skills, and then it led to helping like more meaningful people, and then it amplified with discovering many habits to transform behavior. So just thinking about maybe one thing. I always like to think about the one goal that's going to catapult all the other goals for that day to kind of help me. So like starting with that one. So thinking about that, like what's that one skill or one thing that will help you propel in all the other ways? Like, so maybe there's something that's been holding you back or something like that to think about. Maybe you don't have a system for getting your coaches or clients started, and that's something you want to work on, and that's great. So just thinking about that skill that, again, is in your season, it's going to change, it's going to evolve, and it should evolve over time as you're developing these new things. Skill development cannot ever be emphasized enough. And actually, I was just watching Macy's story, weird, and she was talking about that. She was talking about how someone said that they needed to talk more about skill versus structure or something like that, because it's true. So many people are missing the skill, and like again, maybe communication or in your conversations is something you want to get better at. It's going to take time, and that's great. And that's just, again, just knowing what that is for you. Number 2, never stop fighting for your beliefs in the life that you want. As long as you're alive, fight. Lions and other animals fight to survive, and humans can fight to thrive. There are so many times things are gonna throw at you at life, right? Hello, 2020. And we are here to thrive and to be the humans that other people, again, can look for that leadership. That's what lions are here for. That's how lions survive in the wild. And let's be honest, network marketing is kind of like the wild, right? It's kind of like you are in a way working with other people, fighting for what you believe in, right? Fighting and helping other people thrive. We want to help other people live a healthy and happy, fulfilling life. Like that's our motto, and that's how we're going to help people thrive. So knowing that, you know, it's okay to maybe quit something that you're doing that's not filling you up, right? Having that like knowing is really, really helpful. So be like a lion and show the world your strengths. The world won't find it for you. You have to find your strengths and figure out how to show it. So again, how are you gonna stand out with your strengths? And lions are great like teamwork. They use teamwork for their success. So the lion's reputation as the king of the jungle is hardly helpful when they're hunting for food. Most of the animals that lions hunt are actually faster and more agile than they are. So they are highly strategic. They rarely hunt alone. They're always working together. And instead, they use teamwork to take down a prey. Now, I'm not saying like we all take down a prey together, but we all work together. And sometimes I think people can be like, oh, well, we have a lot of mutual friends, so I'm not going to be successful in this because so-and-so's already doing it. And we have like 200 mutual friends on Facebook, where actually that's false. Actually, if you both start doing it together, more people are going to be like, oh, that's legit. It's not just one person doing it. Now it's two people. And then 3 people start. And then 4. Like, honestly, I feel like that's how Ashley has grown a lot of her business because, like, you started and then someone else started in the friend group and then someone else. And like, so everyone does it now. And so it's just that showing and like reposting things. And I know someone said in the chat, like, you know, can we tag each other? And like, that's why tagging and sharing those posts and doing that, yeah, creates that FOMO. And then they're like, oh, like it's not just her doing it. So it can't be a scam because why would 10 other people that I know be doing it if it was a scam, right? But when you see that one person doing that business and only that one person, it's kind of hard to want to, you know, branch out or start to ask questions. So it just helps people feel that more. It's not like, obviously we know that we're not like a scam and all that, but it just helps other people see that and see that vision, so they know that they're not going to be alone. You know, and sometimes we forget our talents and we can use each other as a team to come back together and say, hey, like I've been working on this. Have you noticed? Or I want to work on this. Can you let me know if you notice a difference or when you notice a difference? You know, communicate that with people. Ask people to let you know what is helpful. Because as coaches too, we want to be encouraging. We're always here to be encouraging, but we also want to help. And we also don't want people to invest and like ask, you know, actually want maybe like the hard coach in a way sometimes, right? To be like, hey, like you should, you know, do what you wanted to do and told me. But also we're here to encourage and we're here to uplift and we're here to say, hey, you can do it. We'll be here for you along the way and let me know how I can help you. Okay. So that's kind of all I had about things. The only thing not to live like a lion, which I thought was funny, they put in this: mark your territory with urine, roar to intimidate unwelcome guests, chase down wild animals and eat them raw, and sleep for 20 hours a day. Beyond those minor details, the regular lion can teach us a few things about life. I thought that was funny. They added that part. So, and then I have this acronym for lion that was from Guy Culture, but I'll share it. I need to remember because I don't have, actually, I have it, my notes. I took notes on my phone when I was at the retreat because that's what I do. Hold on. Oh, okay. So L stands for love and serve. I stands for inspired, like in spirit. O, offense, not in defense. And then N, need Jesus or need your spiritual life or need some sort of connection to growth in that sense, right? So that's how that's how the acronym that Guide Culture did, and it's specific for coaches. Like they won't share that with with non-coaches. But I loved it as coaches, and a lot of what Loy said about like what a coach is was from like a funeral that he went to of a coach, and someone got up and spoke and like shared what he was, what this certain person was as a coach, and how like it was full of his students and all these things. And so I need to find that list because it was great, and I felt like a lot of what he was saying, I was like, oh my gosh, that's our team, like that's us, like it's totally what we stand for. And it just like it was just really reassuring and reaffirming that who we are and what we're doing is super powerful. Yeah. Anyone want to share anything or have anything to say? I know that was kind of a lot, but I felt like, especially going in a new year, talking about how we can be the lion and kind of think of comparison in a positive way would be helpful.
I really liked what you said about what Macy talked about when she said just asking people like, hey, have you heard of Beachbody? Because how many times, people, I feel like people have caught on to the hey girl. Like they know, like, oh, look at that. There's a hey girl message. I mean, you can see when people send you a hey girl message, you know what it looks like.
And
But
how do you feel when you get one? You don't want to respond.
yeah. Yeah, you're just like, oh, okay, here we go. Yeah. So it's like it's kind of nice when, you're just kind of straight to the point with people like, hey, I've seen you watching my stories. By the way, have you heard of Beachbody on Demand or Beachbody? Because then it's like, I'm not here to scam you. I'm not here to like pretend that I care or feel fake or, make you feel fake. Like I'm legitimately asking to see if it would work for you and help you. And I wonder if that's like partially how we need to like change the narrative for people, because I really think everyone, they know what the hey girl messages are. So just like being upfront with it and being proud of it. And it's true, like everyone talks about Peloton and keto, and like Megan said, that workout mirror, they have like a boxing thing too. Like, what's the big deal? Beachbody was rated the number one app in fitness and health. So I don't know why we're like or well, not all of us, but I don't know why people are afraid to talk about it. Because
I think like, and after, because I agree, I've been thinking about it, and I feel like because Chalene Johnson talked about attraction marketing, so many people became so scared of saying the name, which like I understand attraction marketing, and I think I've actually learned it better with Guide Culture, and it's not a bad thing to say like, hey, this is Energize. What this can do for you is XYZ. Like, I don't think people are necessarily gonna, and if they do go search, they get a coach, and then they're going to message you and say, I just bought Energize, and then you can switch them over. Like, I'm not living in that fear anymore of like someone going and purchasing it. Cause most of the time, if they do, they come and tell me, and then we can get them switched over, and it's great. It doesn't, I think too, you said something else. You said something about Macy. It doesn't beat around the bush. And I like that, I feel like I can guide them more. I'm not like, hey, how are you? I saw you posted this, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like 5 paragraphs of talking about them where I'm still going to info gather and I'm still going to learn about them. But I can say, like, if they then want more info, I can say, okay, great. Like, I would love to ask you more. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions? And then going from there, like, I just feel like it's so much more of a better flow. And then people also aren't like turned off by it and just like, oh, she just wants to like get to know me. She like actually wants to know if I've known about it. Like, I don't know.
yeah, no, I agree. Because it's true, like most conversations, they start off where you're like, you have like 5 paragraphs, like you said, where you're just talking about them and like trying to get to know them. And you're like, how do I transfer over to the Beachbody conversation? And really, it should just be like straightforward, because if they follow you, it should be obvious that like you're a coach, so they know what you're doing if they watch your stories and like look at your posts. So you might as well just be like, hey, by the way, do you know what this is? You want to check it out? I mean, you should definitely still info gather, but I agree with you with like Chalene Johnson, because I took her Instagram Impact Academy and just other things like way back in the day. And she talks about like the attraction marketing. And I feel like every coach I spoke to was like, don't say the name of things because you want people to be curious. And it's true, because in some sense, like you could say the name, and even if they went on the website and figured out what energize is, they really don't even know like what it does for them truly, you know? So like to me, that's the curiosity aspect. Like say the name, and then it's our job to actually explain, you know, like what Macy and Kat talk about when you're like showing that you're the expert by understanding your product, you know, and like sharing about that too. Same thing with coaching and, you know, the workouts and all that stuff. I feel like the attraction marketing, I kind of feel like is, I don't know, like it needs to be taught the right way. Otherwise, it can be taken wrong, and then you're totally like kicking yourself in the you know, in the foot because it's not really working for you and it's working against you. But
Well, yeah, and then I also feel
yeah,
like it's a little deceiving because it's almost makes it seem like everyone's going to come to you when that's just not the case. And it's like, of course, you want the attraction part is them trusting you and seeing the value in it, and of course, coming to you then. But like, it's not talking about it, and I think that's the thing too. Because then it's like, why is she? And like, why isn't she talking about it? You know, then people
yeah,
start to kind of question that, and they're like, you know, people, they say guy culture all the time. That's how they've branded them, right? Like, so you should be talking, or even like you're in your team name, like, of course, talk about it, because then people are gonna be like, what's the Dreamer Society? What's Babe Mayhem? Like, what is that? You know, they're gonna start asking more questions about that. And then, so like, I also feel like, yeah, it helps. I don't know. I like just saw it too, and I'm like, man, I really like that. Like, I don't know why. Like, I haven't been doing Hey Girl. I've been doing more like, have you seen my recent stories and stuff? But
right.
I just felt better when I even read that, and I was like, oh, I feel better reading that.
Yeah. Well, I don't even try to say, "Hey, girl," anymore unless I've like, unless I know them personally and it's like an actual friend thing. But if I send out a message to someone that I'm not super like, I don't know them well, I actually use their name
Oh yeah,
instead.
their name is the sweetest sound. Always use their name. I actually responded to someone yesterday and I didn't use their name, and I caught it and I copied the message. I deleted it before she saw it and I resent it, but I put her name. So like,
Yeah.
I just said hey, and I was like, I don't want to say that. I want to say her name.
Yeah. It's just more personal that way.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, okay, so I don't know if anybody follows the no shame sales game on Instagram, but you should, because they literally like have 5 things that you guys have said. They say the same things. It's basically just they post a blue or a pink square with a
Yes,
quote.
I've been resharing them. Yes.
Oh, you're fine. Sorry.
Anti
But like
girl, yeah.
the anti-hey girl, you know, and it's like, don't be scared to say the name of your company. Like, that's why I shared something like probably a week and a half ago, and I was like, I will shout Beachbody from the rooftops. I'm not embarrassed. Like, of what? Of success? Of like, whether it's success in the bank or success in your health or success in your mind. Why would you be scared to like say who it is? Like, I'm not ashamed. Freaking, you know, it just, and it's like people are evolving, you know, like that girl did work for a while, and then some people, yeah, look at both rooms, they look really good. Some people just messed it up, and that's not really their fault. Even that they didn't have an upline, you know, they didn't have the person to tell them. But like the stuff they share is so good, and I share it on my thing because it's like obviously you wouldn't share it if you weren't, you know. Yeah, I mean, like, just like anybody says, if you share about Amazon or Target, you ain't getting money for that. What, that's not benefiting you. And not saying that you only share to benefit, but just saying you share all day long. Yeah, that's the one that got me on Monday. Yeah, and I just thought that was a good one to follow. It's inspiring. It's like what we say all the time. You know, and it's just like we're extra words to live by.
Oh my god, this is awesome. It says the way you show up on social media is like a fart. If you have to force it, it's probably shit. Oh my gosh. Sorry. That was really awesome. Oh, sorry, Megan Harper is around. Oh yeah. Don't avoid mentioning your company by name. That's gross.
Yeah, that's the one that got me. And I was like, I don't know if I reshared that exact thing, but I was like, yeah, that is gross. Like, why, you know, I'm not scared to say, oh, we own North Fork Farm Events. I'm like, heck yes, that is us. We run that. You know, I want to present it in the nicest, you know, in the best way possible. And I always say this every day. If I inspire you to go to the gym and you don't go through me, fine, whatever. That's totally fine. As long as I'm inspiring you in some way, you know, like, but I'm going to say the name of my company no matter what.
So this is interesting. I'm curious what you guys think, because I say this all the time and now I'm like a little bit questioning it, but it says like stop saying things like, if you're open to it, I'd love to share how my business has changed your life. Stop saying, I'd love to send you more info about what it is I do, or would you be open to learning more about how I fit this business into my life? I think it's just saying like, stop being self-centered.
I think once you initiate the conversation and that's not your initial thing, but if you've invested like, you know, a week or so's time with somebody, then you're like, hey, do you want more information? It's like, I think that like when you present it in the first sentence in a tacky way, hey, I see that you're good at talking. Do you want to, you know, so I don't, you know, you have to take everything like a little bit differently, you know, sometimes maybe take it and then twist it, you know, like the other week when I read about the fasting thing, instantly I was irritated, but then I just took it and read deeper. So it's like, I feel like if you just like invest in them a little bit further first, it's not bad. You know, you just gotta make sure it's not the opening statement.
I think it would be Talia at the end asking, like they say in guide culture, like, do you want to get started tonight or tomorrow? Like, instead of saying, like, are you open for more info, just asking them, like, would you want more info tonight or tomorrow? Like, giving them an option versus just like, would you like to see? And then them hopefully responding. It gives them more of like a ending.
Yeah. This is encouraging. Network marketing is the future. It's replacing franchising, which now requires too much capital for the average person. Why don't people talk about that? That's actually a really good point.
And I think also I read an article a while ago, and it was talking about how Bill Gates said that if he was our age, that he would start doing network marketing. Like he would do network marketing like as a choice versus obviously whatever. But like I think that was like 3 years ago. I remember reading it and being like, oh, that's cool.
That is really cool, because everyone has such a bad taste about it. I mean, I don't really care because I think it's awesome.
There are companies, I won't lie, not the biggest fan.
Sure.
And there's like that. I think that's with anything, right? Like there's car salespeople that you don't want to go to, and you know, I think it's with anything. So I think also overcoming that and realizing like, or at least I've had to work on this too for sure. It's like we're great, but there's definitely things that are.
There's bad apples in every company, in every industry, everything. I mean, like, I can't tell you how many times like people say like, oh yeah, like hospitality is such a great job to have. Like you get to work in hotels and spas and restaurants and all the things. And it seems so glamorous. And like, I can't tell you how many times like I worked with managers and just people that just ruined it for me. You know what I'm saying? And like, it made me not want to go like work for a Marriott or go work for this or whatever. But like, there are some people that say, oh, I love working for Marriott, you know, and they had a great boss. It just depends, you know, like on how, you know, who you're exposed to. So yeah, I mean, like there's definitely other network marketing companies that aren't the greatest, but that shouldn't taint all of them, you know?
I feel like we're having to undo so much work that people have done for 10 years. The vacuums going door to door, anything like Mary Kay, we're just having to undo it and still undo it this day because some people still just don't care. And it's just like a cycle that I just try to always even show that on my stories, even if I'm not talking, that like I always just say, like, you just do what's best, you know, something that's what's best for you. But you know, we're not like that. We don't have to be. And that's the beauty of it, is that we get to make it our own. If you do want to say, hey girl, I want to join my boot camp every day, you can, and you might be successful, but your people might not trust you the way that our people trust us. They trust us completely differently.
Yeah, it is kind of cool the position that we are in though, like you said, Ashley, because I feel like the people that are in it right now, like you said, are kind of having to undo some of like the bad old sales tactics because sales was never the problem. It was just the way it was done. And because people, like you said, are evolving, they catch on to the like the catchphrases. And I feel like sales got away from the person to person connection. And now that sales has kind of been changing a little bit. And like Grant Cardone talks about it all the time. He's like, stop talking about yourself, like start talking about the person and how you can help them and be of service to them rather than what's in it for you. And I see that everywhere now too. Like whoever's teaching sales or sales Instagram pages or whatever, like they all say, stop talking about you and what you have to offer and start talking about the person and how you can help them, be of service to them all the time. So I don't know, it's kind of cool because if we were, if we have the opportunity to do that, we can be the face of it. And we can even say to people, like in our conversations, when they do have those objections, like saying things like, I can understand maybe why you feel like, someone would be pushing you into this, because that's kind of been the game in the industry. And it's, I'm here to tell you that I'm here for you, not for me,
Yeah.
So.
And it's true. I was talking to my friend Kelly, who's in real estate, and she was saying the same thing, how it's not cold calling anymore too. Like she's had to retrain almost like the realtors that are older that again have this wired brain that doesn't work anymore for what they want, And so it was just interesting to hear that. I feel like a lot of industries are changing and realizing, because they've evolved, that cold calling and all that doesn't really work, and actually referrals are so much better. And I think that's something that last year I really tried to focus on more of, was getting more referrals than like people just messaging me or me talking to them for the first time or whatnot.
Yeah, I've never had success with cold messages ever. And I tried them, because I think it was like before I joined Dreamer Society. I was really kind of like trying to learn more through Alexis. And at the time, like I think she was kind of doing like, just different things. And so one of those things was doing cold messages. And so I was like, maybe I should try, because Alexis is pretty successful with everything, and I never got responses from anybody. So it just didn't work for me.
When we power hours and stuff, and like we're like, okay, now this is where we invite for 20 minutes, and I sit there and I'm like, and I'll like start, and then I just backspace and I just start a conversation. I'm like, if it feels tacky coming out, backspace, and they're gonna read it as tacky. And I like actually got like, I back up, don't even talk about Beachbody, and in the end, oh my gosh, you're such an inspiration. I wanted to reach out to you for so long, but X, Y, or Z, I want this at this time, or hey, it's not time, and I'm like, oh my goodness. But then it also probably puts me in a place where I'm like, see, I don't have to message at all. And then I'm like, So I like to be prompted, but I might get like 3 conversations out of it that are not now, but maybe later.
I feel like I was doing that earlier all day. Like, please stop with my kids.
Pray for me. I'm combining them in rooms. So.
Oh my gosh.
I have to do that with Ashton and Lily. So.
Yay.
Yeah. All right. Well, and I have to get off in a minute, but does anyone else have anything they want to share, talk about? If not, that's cool. This is
you good, Megan? Okay.
Okay. Also, there's dirty car salesmen, lawyers, bad teeth. It's true. I'm now on my 3rd lawyer, and she's great. So you never know. You gotta learn, right? You gotta learn what you don't want and what you do want, and that's sometimes the beauty of that, is you learn through those moments. Even though you wish.
Sorry, how do you feel? Sorry, Sari.
I'm feeling much better pregnancy wise. My feet hurt. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's that whole your feet change in pregnancy, but my hiking boots that literally were like my favorite pair, fit me like a glove, have never caused me problems. And 24 hours after hiking, like the skin was like peeling off of the back of my heel.
Ouch.
It was weird. So my feet hurt, but otherwise I feel great.
That's good.
Yeah.
And Emma and Megan, you guys feel good too? Megan's like,
I took Zofran earlier. I'm kind of feeling nauseous. I don't know why.
uh-oh.
I decided to have a BLT today for the first time, and I haven't been able to have bacon, and I think that was a bad choice. So I was thinking like, oh, I have medicine, I'll be fine. But now I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that.
Drink some ginger tea or something.
Yeah, I have tea out there. I think I'm gonna go drink before the kids head off. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording if we don't have anything else. I just never want. I feel like I always stop it and then someone says something good. Okay, I'm stopping it.